These are some of the most disturbing crimes that happen in the Terraria community, and as the video progresses, the cases will just keep getting worse. Terraria is a popular sandbox game created by Andrew Spinks, who's better known by his online alias ReDigit, and he published the game on May 16, 2011 through his own indie game developing company called ReLogic, and with the help of an Italian game publishing company called 505 Games. Sandbox games, in case you didn't know, are basically virtual worlds that let players explore and choose their own adventures, instead of following a strict storyline. By 2024, over 58.7 million copies of the game had been sold across multiple platforms, with 32 million of those sold to PC gamers alone. The game had an average of around 27,000 players daily during that year, showing how large and active the community was despite the game being over 13 years old. Now, with the game's success, official merchandise soon became available, and on September 26, 2024, a new design based on one of the game's bosses, the Flying Dutchman, was announced as the month's featured shirt. Now, fans quickly went to the store page and purchased said shirt, but over a month later, someone noticed something suspicious. On November 3rd, Reddit user InFactPlays posted his observation of the Flying Dutchman art in the Terraria subreddit. He accused the art of being AI generated and made a list of things that he found suspicious about the design, including the fact that no artist was officially credited for it, unlike in most Terraria merchandise. Now, this had many fans disappointed, with one commenting, "I think it's still a spit in the face for any artist who works or dream of working for Terraria. Who would want to use their talent for a company that's satisfied with AI art?" Fortunately for the fans, ReLogic was quick to respond to the controversy. Just a day after InFact's post, Ted Murphy, ReLogic's head of business strategy and marketing, posted an update about the Flying Dutchman shirt, explaining, "The shirt was put together by a new freelance designer engaged by one of our partners, due to our normal folks being tied up on other projects. While we didn't know it was AI assisted at the time, we've since confirmed that, while elements of the design are human generated, AI has been used for the shirt, both as the basis and for assisted elements. Essentially, the artist in question generated something in AI, and then we drew it a lot, but not all, clearly, of the elements." Ted also announced that they had removed the shirt from the store page and promised to refund everyone who ordered it, even if they'd already received the item and intended to keep it. Apart from this, ReLogic assured fans that they would be more careful to avoid allowing AI-generated art into their products and promotional art. They promised that any art that was discovered to be AI would be immediately removed, while contracts for their freelance artists were also updated. Seeing the company owning up to the mistake, fans showed support for ReLogic, even encouraging them to hire an artist to remake the Flying Dutchman design, which Ted agreed with. And 3 months later, on February 27, 2025, a new Flying Dutchman shirt and hoodie were posted on the official Terraria store. The announcement page even made a reference to the past controversy, saying, "We have a design that is backed by popular demand, this time in a hand-drawn style, and 100% AI free." This showed that ReLogic was willing to correct their mistakes. The next Terraria creator, however, spent years attacking people within the community and refused to deal with the consequences.
I'm amazing. I'm really amazing. I've done a lot of for this community, and I'm tired of hearing about it because a couple modders are crybaby little who want to cry because I was gonna sue them.
On the 22nd of September 2005, a guy whose real identity has never been confirmed created a channel on YouTube by the name Hero, which was short for Harnessing Education Resources Online. At first, he only uploaded content for games like StarCraft, but when Terraria was released 6 years later, Hero focused on his channel towards this single game. Within months, Hero became one of the most popular Terraria streamers on the internet, gaining over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. And with his influence spreading, Hero was trusted to edit and create pages on the official Terraria fandom wiki. In August of 2011. Fandom wikis, in case you're unaware, are community-driven websites that collect and organize information about their specific topic. But giving Hero control over Terraria's fandom pages would soon turn out to be a huge mistake. Because instead of simply editing the pages to make them more informative for players, Hero attaches YouTube videos to nearly every page to promote his own channel. He even created a page for an item, claiming that players would only be able to receive it if they joined him during his Twitch streams. And when other admins called him out around 5 months later, in January 2012, Hero banned them from the Terraria wiki. He even asked another page admin to make an automated rule to ban anyone who posted other videos to the pages. Now, given his actions, Hero's admin status for the wiki was eventually revoked sometime during the same month. And just weeks after this, in February of 2012, Terraria lead developer Andrew Spinks announced that he'd be leaving the team to focus on his family, as they were preparing to welcome their second child. Now, while most fans were supportive of this, Hero allegedly ridiculed Andrew during a now deleted video, calling him a child of special needs for wanting to leave for his family. And when fans criticized him for this comment, Hero simply deleted the video and denied ever saying those words. Now, despite these issues surrounding him, Hero was working on something to make another mark on the Terraria community. Aside from letting players players create their own adventures within the game, Terraria also encouraged developers to add new elements, which is known as modding. And over the years, countless mods have been released for Terraria, expanding the game from creating new items and characters to changing the gameplay mechanics themselves. In March 2012, Hero promoted a mod he developed called Reborn, which featured new gameplay like a capture the flag mission and a player versus player option. Since Hero's name was attached to the project, the mod grew in popularity, getting thousands of downloads within days of the release. But his behavior towards others would become the talk of the community once again, because soon reports came out that alleged that the development team behind the Reborn mod experienced toxic work conditions due to Hero's mismanagement and abusive behavior. And since they weren't paid for their work on Reborn, the team had asked Hero to let them create a donation link for the official site of the mod that would allow players to voluntarily donate to them instead. But Hero was against this and even refused to credit the team's names on the page. And when the team pushed back, Hero threatened to sue them. Because of all the conflicts within the team, they disbanded around mid-2012, just months after the mod was released, and the Reborn mod hasn't received any updates since. But Hero wasn't done just yet, and he would return with a new mod called Gamaiki less than 2 years later, in early 2014, and he would make the biggest mistake of his career just a year after. As Terraria was preparing for their highly anticipated update for 2015, they gave early access to the new version of the game to streamers to promote it. Hero was among the streamers who were given early access, but when he streamed his gameplay on June 29, 2015, things didn't turn out as expected. The scheduled stream was delayed, as Hero spent a lot of time working on supposed audio issues. However, those watching accused him of simply waiting for more people to join the stream, making them feel like he was wasting the time of those who were already there. And after a long while, Hero finally began playing the updated Terraria game, but fans noticed that he was struggling through it, even with just the basic mechanics. He also wasn't making an effort to show the new content that people wanted to see, and with the fans bored and disappointed, they began calling him out in the chat, and this made Hero snap.
You know what? I am awesome. I'm sorry I didn't have a great stream. I'm sorry I've had audio issues. I'm probably the only reason there is any early access live streaming going on.
Hero then started a 1 hour long rant about all the controversies that were spread around him. First, there was the Reborn mod, where he said,
I made it, no one else. It was mine, my project. I made it. I paid for our servers. I paid for all the stuff that we made. I paid over $1,000 for all the different stuff. When people wanted to add donation to the Reborn mod, I said no. And when they wouldn't budge, we split the project. I threatened to sue them into the ground, and that pissed people off because they got hit with a huge brick that was reality, that you can't work on somebody else's work, somebody else's project. You can't join a team and then just walk away and all the work's yours.
Hero then claimed that he did offer the team $500 each, but most of them refused and allegedly agreed to work for free instead. He then moved on to the fandom wiki controversy, defending that he placed his videos on the pages because other Terraria tutorial videos were awful.
I had done everything to make the wiki successful. I mean, it was a complete pile of shit before I got there. There was nothing but spam. I don't know. I guess felt like I deserved to control the wiki I controlled. They said no more editing, right? So for an entire Terraria patch, there's an entire patch where I did every single thing on the wiki, every single edit. There was not a single person who did another edit on the for an entire patch for several days. I wanted my videos on the wiki. Sorry, that pisses a lot of people off. Okay, well, my videos were a lot better than a lot of other videos.
He also brought up comments that he cheated on a speedrun last year, since he had the Game Miki mod on. His Game Miki mod allowed unlimited access to the items, and he defended that,
I've done 3,000 hours of Terraria. I'm not gonna go mine some dirt if I need some dirt. You know, it's ridiculous. I've done so many hours in this game. Yes, I'll cheat out my...
He also denied ever calling Andrew special needs and called out the community for making up lies about him just because he was a successful streamer.
I guess I just have to hear thousands of people tell me to myself today. Because what? You know, and hearing all that, you know, there's going to be thousands of people here who think to themselves, oh yeah, whatever, you're full of...
During all of this, one of Terraria's developers messaged him on Skype to stop the livestream, but Hero ignored this.
I have 4 Skype messages, and I don't even want to open Skype, because I'm sure I know what they are.
And after an hour of Hero's rants, a fan sent him an encouraging message.
Dude, you have done a heap for the community. It's just a circle jerk of just trying to get you down. There are always going to be haters, just keep your chin up. Focus on all of us who still love you, and keep on streaming.
Now this finally convinced him to end the stream. A day later, on June 30th, Hiro went to the Terraria subreddit to host an Ask Me Anything thread, which is also known as an AMA for short. In this post, he addressed his actions the previous day, saying, "I'm sorry about how the stream turned out yesterday. I was not prepared and just generally didn't do the things I should have done fast enough." Below the post was also an apology video, though he deleted it not long after posting. And when questions started flooding in, Hiro didn't respond to them at all, with one redditor commenting, "For an AMA, not a lot of questions are being answered." After the deleted apology video, Hiro continued creating content for Terraria like nothing happened. However, fans had distanced themselves from him, causing his viewer account to lessen over time. And by January 7, 2018, he made this announcement on his X account. "I've had some health issues and memory loss has increased. Some days I can't even remember my birthday. I can't remember most of the names of my nieces and nephews. I can't remember if I took my medicine, so I need dated pill containers. I'm just so lost in everything. Do you remember how I would forget basic crafting in Terraria? That is my life with everything now. This isn't a cry for help. I want to be left alone. I want to be alone." Now it would take months before he explained what happened, because his next post appeared on November 20th, almost 11 months after the previous one, where he shared that, "I had a rash that I thought was just growth spurt stretch marks. Turned out to be Bartonella. I have what makes crazy cat ladies crazy. Symptoms, severe rage, easily upset, severe mood swings, memory loss, and many more. It took almost 3 years to figure out what was wrong. I'm not sure where to go from here. I have messed so much up. I have contemplated making a video, but I'm really not in the right state of mind. I am sorry to those I let down." After this, Hiro went quiet from social media, until he made his official farewell message in May 2022 saying, "Hello my friends, my watch has ended. While YouTube was a big part of my life at one point, it isn't anymore. I will be retiring from YouTube creation. I have privated all of my videos but one. I have found other happiness in my life. I wish you all the best." Now this statement officially ended Hiro's run as one of the most influential and controversial Terraria content creators. The next story involves another of Terraria's most well-known community members, but he ruined his legacy by involving the young and innocent. Now I have to be honest with you guys, the next couple of months are going to be really busy for me. So because I didn't want to stop, posting videos for you guys, I brought my friend Ethan to actually kind of be my co-host and do some voiceovers as well. So he will take over the rest of the video. Let me know in the comments if you like his voice. He's British, but I think you'll really like him.
Hi everyone. As David mentioned, I'm Ethan. I'm going to be covering half of some of these topics in the coming videos. I want to thank David for inviting me onto this channel. I view a lot of this content already from similar creators and the Appmaster channel in general, and when I received the invitation, I thought, why not? I already watch a lot of the content, so why not give it my best shot? I hope my introduction to the channel will be an addition, and I seriously hope that you guys continue to enjoy and support the content. Okay, just so I don't keep yapping and prolong this introduction, let's get straight into the next cases on this video.
Given what's been going on in the Calamity community, this seems very fitting. Were you ever curious about the best ways to deal with a file?
On May 27th, 2016, just days after the game's 5th anniversary, a developer named Andrew, better known online as Fabsol, announced the release of the Calamity mod on Terraria's official forum page. This mod offered new enemies and environments that nearly doubled the game's original content. Because of its massive additional content, Calamity would turn out to become the most successful mod made for the game, gathering over 9 million Terraria players. And so, not long after its release, Fabsol hired a team to maintain and expand the mod, as well as creating a Discord server to connect with their players. But, despite Calamity's success, fans weren't happy with the creator himself. Over Discord, he made comments against players, with one Steam user saying, "Fabsol made the Calamity mod. It was great until he decided to ruin everything, nerfing almost all fun items, making every boss have infinite health, making you one-tap everything, etc. All because he felt like it." A real quote. This is the same guy who said, "If you use other mods while playing mine, you should end yourself." Everyone wanted him gone. Then, on December 1st, 2022, well over 6 years after Fabsol released the mod, at least 22 developers left the Calamity team, which surprised many of the fans. Fabsol explained the situation over Discord 3 days later on December 4th, saying, "The team has split due to a lack of proper leadership, which is entirely my fault. Miscommunications on all sides, a lack of trust in each other, avoidance of accountability when mistakes were made, and fears of confronting the issue we all faced. I know my blame in all this. I wasn't the leader I should have been. I wasn't managing things like I should have been. I wasn't coordinating people properly. I know that nobody is perfect, but that doesn't excuse any of my failings. I need to be better and stop blaming the negative influences in my life for errors that I have made entirely myself." And to tell their side of the story, one of the former developers, Narcissistny, held a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread on January 18th, 2023, more than a month after the mass resign. In the comments, he shared his experience with the team, starting when he initially joined as a tester where he saw smaller arguments and disputes, situations which I remember feeling uncomfortable and scared, unable to say anything out of fear of being snapped at by Fabsol because I saw him snap at other people, testers and devs alike, for telling him about issues or saying the wrong thing. Someone's sentiments, I will not name them for their own privacy, came to a head one day in early 2021 through an assertively written message articulating their feelings, frustrations, and discomfort with how Fab had been acting. But it ended in those feelings being dismissed by Fabsol and them being openly blamed for upsetting him in that way. According to Narcissistny, the team made more attempts to discuss these issues up to the days before they left, but things didn't turn out the way they'd hoped. There was a 6 or 7 hour long text conversation sometime in late November 2022 where people tried to confront Fabsol about these long-standing issues, but it failed to go anywhere in the end. Fabsol was absent for effectively the first hour or so and needed someone else to drag him into the conversation. He was avoiding it, but clearly reading what people were saying because he was making joking comments here and there, but not replying to the people who were trying to have a sincere, serious conversation that was deferred for so long. I lost hope and no longer felt welcome, so I left. Despite these issues spreading online and causing people to see Fabsol in a negative way, Calamity's development and popularity continued for another 2 years. That was until May 25th, 2025, when one message led to his secrets being revealed. On Discord, Fabsol said, "Many women aren't comfortable with trans women being in their bathrooms, and if I were a woman, I wouldn't be comfortable with it either. Yes, there, I said it. Because many people aren't brave enough to do so." This sparked an online debate about trans people, which was troubling for members of the community. As one Redditor pointed out, basically, Fabsol outed himself as a transphobe, when, like, a very considerable portion of the dev team is trans. Among the trans members of the Calamity development team was an individual named Che, the head lore writer, and Hearts Plus Up, one of the team's music composers and pixel artists. And apart from members of his team being trans, fans also pointed out how Fabsol made a non-playable character based on himself called Drunk Princess. One Redditor commented, "Funny how this guy whose self-insert is a woman turned out to be transphobic." While this led to many players mocking him, ex-user Butter Bunchkins commented on the issue, revealing that Fabsol was the same dude who invited me to his NSFW server when I was not of age to see his MLP collection. Butter then posted screenshots he saved from that server where Fabsol, who was in his mid-20s at the time, encouraged members to make inappropriate art. His messages in this Discord server are too explicit to read out here on this video, making it more disturbing considering that these members were a decade younger than him. More screenshots from the server soon became public, with one of them from a conversation back on November 27th, 2019. Here, Fabsol encouraged one member to avoid speaking to their parents. He even acknowledged that this member was 2 years away from legally moving out from their parents' home, confirming that he knew they were not old enough to be on a server that shared explicit content. Another screenshot also showed Fabsol sending an intimate image of 2 Calamity characters in one of the Discord channels, when Macedoni, one of their lore contributors, pointed out that some members were still below college age. Fabsol defended himself, saying, "When I was in high school, I was horny AF." The community was shocked to see Fabsol's conversations with these young members, so within hours after the transphobic comments that started it all, one of Calamity's developers, Shay, announced on Discord, "Today, we were informed of some statements made by Fabsol in this server that directly affected members of the trans Calamity community. Soon after this was brought up, we were also provided screenshots from an NSFW server Fabsol co-owned, where several smaller humans were allowed to join." Shay also confirmed that Fabsol admitted that this server existed and that the screenshots given to them as evidence were real. Fabsol himself made this announcement the very next day, on May 26th, saying, "The worst mistake was a private server that was made 8 years ago or so, which I left around 5 years ago, which was an NSFW server that had members who weren't of age. I was aware of those younger friends of mine being in there, and it makes me so unbelievably sick. And screenshots of that have been passed around to defame me and make the devs look terrible for associating with me. So I'm retiring as owner of the Calamity mod." After Fabsol left, references to him and his character, Drunk Princess, were removed from the mod. Ozatron, one of the lead developers and programmers, was given the role as the mod leader to take his place. Fabsol sharing inappropriate content to not-of-age members became the final straw that destroyed his career, and the next Calamity team member was found doing something similar, but this time, he specifically targeted a young fan to get what he wanted.
Send me an email of every single person in the FNAF community that's a
Mr. Small, who also went by the name Bird online, was a contributor for the Calamity mod from South Korea. For the sake of this video, we'll just call him Bird. He was credited for redesigning one of Calamity's enemy bosses, the Desert Scourge, along with other items in the game like the rare accessory called Coco's Feather. For years, Bird's designs became part of Calamity's growth, but by early 2024, he left the development team and asked to have some of his creations removed, including Coco's Feather. But while the team were working on the new updates where his work would be removed, they received a troubling message. On July 4th, 2024, a former Calamity developer, who we'll call Sam, received a message from a player who I'll be calling Grace. Grace was an artist and a fan of both Terraria and the Calamity mod. However, she reported that another Calamity developer had been sending inappropriate messages to her for years. It all began 3 years earlier, around 2021, and continued up to February 2024, just 5 months before she sent the report. And the one behind those messages was Bird. To prove her claims, Grace gave screenshots of the messages, which started as repeated invitations for intimacy before Bird began asking her for inappropriate photos. He even sent her explicit artwork without her consent. Because of these, Grace asked for all of Bird's creations to be removed from Calamity. She still loved Terraria and the mod, but she didn't want to be reminded of his actions toward her while she was playing the game. While Sam was already forwarding these screenshots to the development team, Grace made one more revelation. Bird began messaging her while she was 2 years away from adulthood, and although there's no confirmation of how old Bird was at the time, Sam and the team immediately began discussing how they could remove his name and works from the mod completely. This was apparently the only thing they could do since Bird had already left the team months before. Just a day later, another member of the team, who we'll call Jesse, sent Bird a message to get his side of the story. However, Bird claimed that he didn't remember sending those messages to Grace. Instead, he used this issue as one of the reasons why he resented Calamity and tried to get rid of all the memories I had. He also claimed that seeing the messages made him want to cause pain on himself, so he asked Jesse to keep this story within the dev server since, "I'm really scared, I have to admit it." Jesse promised that the team would keep this story to themselves to keep Bird from getting the backlash. However, Grace wanted people to know what he did, and so, just 21 days later, on July 26th, her friend, Anna, posted on her X account saying, "My friend sent these to me. She wishes to remain anonymous to let everyone know about this. After all the pain she suffered, I don't want this matter to go unsolved. She hopes people can know about this instead of hating the mod guy who did this to her." Though she didn't explain how they got the screenshots from Bird and Jesse's chat, Anna posted images both from that conversation and from Grace's report. The details of Bird's action quickly spread online, with Calamity mod players showing support for Grace while calling out the former developer. By the next month, on August 11th, 2024, the screenshots were posted in the Calamity mod subreddit, telling more players about what happened. Since the team's only response to the story was to remove Bird's work and name in their next update, one Redditor felt this wasn't enough. They said, "This annoys me with how poorly this seems to have been handled. I understand that the victim only requested to have his contributions to the mod be removed, but he committed a horrible crime and admitted to it. Not to mention the fact he's so bold in the stuff he was saying to her tells me he's very likely done this with others and may be actively still doing so. He is a predator and needs to be found and arrested, not protected and covered up while silently removing him from the mod." Despite criticism of how they handled the situation, the Calamity dev team didn't make a panic statement about Bird's actions. Instead, they pushed ahead with the update of removing all his work from the mod, which was finalized 6 months later in February 2025. Meanwhile, Bird was also quiet about the situation. That was until April 2025, almost a year after the story came out, when someone on X tagged him in screenshots from Anna's post. This time, Bird tried to defend himself, saying, The incident in the post happened at least 5 to 6 years ago. I was so reckless and did such stupid things back then, so this fact is absolutely my fault. I have no intention of denying this, and I hoped to embrace this sin and become a better person. He then attached a screenshot of a conversation with Grace from December 27th, 2021, where Bird apologized for his messages to her. He even promised to leave her alone, which Grace accepted. However, he began chatting with her again March 9th, 2023, just over a year after he promised not to message her again. Bird told her, "I'm sick of the guilt coming up to keep talking to you. I just want to be able to talk to you like before." Grace responded with, "Sure, I don't mind. Just normal friends." Grace accepted his apology and set up boundaries that they were only friends. But given the screenshots Grace sent to Sam, it was clear that Bird went against this since he continued the inappropriate messages up to early 2024. Bird didn't address this, and instead, he tried to shift some blame on Grace, saying, "Although it's late, I'd like to say a little more. At the time, due to internal circumstances, I quit Calamity Dev, and Grace suddenly developed PTSD on the Calamity Art Discord channel, so she maliciously edited all of her past actions and made it public." As of making this video, Bird still remains active as an artist, posting his work on X while his creations for Calamity had been either removed or replaced. His actions made his legacy in Calamity disappear completely, while the next creator caused the downfall of his entire mod, all because of one secret that no one, not even his own team, saw coming.
Became serious within this roleplay. I'm talking about that kind of serious, if you know what I'm saying right now.
On July 12, 2018, another of Terraria's largest mods, called Ancients Awakened, was released. The mod was created by Jonathan Oakson, better known in the community as Alphacip. Ancients Awakened gained a massive following, with players comparing it to other big Terraria mods like Calamity. Alphacip soon hired 20 new developers to maintain his mod and expand it, and one of them was a woman named Elizabeth Yamamoto, or Liz for short, who served as both a vice director and chief story writer for the Ancients Awakened mod. For years, Alphacip led the team while planning out the mod's future with Liz as she helped him develop the lore, and from the outside, things were going well as the mod continued to attract more players, while their Discord servers gathered over 6,000 members. But like what happened with the Calamity team, troubles soon began. Players noticed how difficult it was to reach out to the team when there was an issue. Users even vented their frustrations about this on the official Terraria forum site, with one of them sharing their experience in May 2019 saying, "Holy hell, they have to have like 40 different channels, and that's a conservative estimate. Instant barrage of rules, hundreds of people, tons of channels and posts. How is one supposed to find any information in this format? You can't just click go to the first post in channel or anything. Really, really poor system. Now I just feel frustrated and like none of this was at all worth the time investment, and I'm considering removing it just because of how painful it is to contact the devs about anything." On top of this, one of the mod's composers, Ferret, suddenly left the team around mid-2019, claiming that it was because of toxic dev environment. He even pulled his music from the mod and deleted his YouTube channel to erase his involvement with Ancients Awakened. This had fans concerned, but with no new details coming up after he left, discussions eventually stopped. That was until Liz posted a Google Doc link on Discord on September 7th, 2020, 2 years after the mod's release, and what she confessed to was something no one saw coming. In the document, she explained, "Dissociative identity disorder is something I've been dealing with for the past 5 years. Most of you know it as multiple personality disorder. I, however, am not the one who has been diagnosed with it. I'm merely nothing more than a product of it. Alpha has been struggling with his DID, and I am the other personality inside of him. We've been like this for many years, and it's been something we struggle with." It turned out that Alphacip and Liz were the same person. Liz acknowledged that this would be a shock to their team as well, but she also added this message at the end. "To those who I have particularly hurt in the past, all I can say is that I'm sorry. I promise from today forward is a new me." From outside the dev team, this apology came out of nowhere, but in just 2 days, another of the team's vice directors, Moonbee, called out Liz and Alphacip on Discord, saying, "I've had it. I gave you several chances and you've done it. You blew it. I like to think I'm patient, given I've put up with you time and time again through thick and thin. I was always there, hoping you'd learn. I'm quite frankly astonished at how far we've gotten and how little you've come to improve, and quite frankly, I'm appalled by your actions too." Below his post was a Google Doc link where he explained what Liz was apologizing for and what could be the reason why she made the confession in the first place. Moon began by talking about the conditions with the team, saying, "Due to Alpha and Liz's bad management, AA has terrible working conditions for devs. There was no proper communication among devs. Alpha and Liz constantly kept plans to themselves and never properly wrote things down. They didn't properly receive criticism and often got away with ignoring it entirely. They rushed people to get things finished. They were very controlling with people's music, despite not knowing how to compose. They would blame problems on people and never recognize their own faults. They refused to let the mod properly grow and develop, instead being rude to people who wanted to see it improve." These were likely what led to Ferret suddenly leaving the team months before, but what Moon said next revealed that Liz was doing something far worse than causing this toxic dev environment. In his Google Doc, Moon then introduced a person named Suminora, or Sume for short, who's a mod user and Terraria artist who got close with Liz. From the start, Sume had told Liz that she had a tulpa, which in simple words means a sentient being who is imagined into existence by a person to be a companion inside their own mind. This is different from having multiple personalities, since a tulpa is not something caused by severe trauma and identity fragmentation, and instead is essentially a completely separate imaginary being with free will, their own thoughts and memories, at least to the person who's created them, who's consciously aware of the tulpa that exists in their own head alongside them, rather than the tulpa being something that takes over the mind or body, as is the case with multiple personality disorder. In Tibetan Buddhism, where the name comes from and roughly translates to phantom, tulpas were believed to be made through spiritual concentration by people known as tulpamancers, who basically willed an imaginary friend into existence, but recent studies have shown that the phenomenon is purely psychological rather than paranormal. Moon then continued about how Sume became close to Liz after she started helping her calm down whenever she got angry toward the dev team. He said, "Sume started by just wanting to help AA. She thought she was helping everyone and calming down Liz. Liz started talking about families and how roleplay is important to her. Sume agreed to do a roleplay with her, and it started out as just pretend. The roleplay started to get more and more serious. Sume decided to be her lover in the roleplay, and they got married and had a kid in it. It started to become a honeymoon in Sume's world." From Moon's description, Sume was dedicated to this RP relationship. However, things took a dark turn when Liz started to make Sume have RP intimacy with her and say inappropriate things. Sume started trying to get away, and then Liz started guilt-tripping her. Liz used their RP baby, Cynthia, to manipulate Sume into a family loop, interrupting her actual life. Liz even attempted to force herself on one of Sume's tulpas. Her brain had to go into defensive mode to push Alpha and Liz out. Finally, Gibbs and Moonbee intervened and stopped Liz. The event led to Sume experiencing so much anxiety that she stopped eating, which affected her physical health. And yet, Liz allegedly continued trying to interact with Sume to manipulate her. What's worse was that this wasn't the first case of Liz trying to attack a player through roleplay. Though things didn't escalate as badly with Sume, a Terraria artist named Ran also became Liz's victim, revealing a pattern of disturbing behavior. With his history of manipulation and attacks, Alphacip sent private messages to Sume after Moon's post. He lashed out at her, saying, "Why does everything go wrong for me?" Then, he threatened Liz's existence. This could mean that he wanted to remove his Liz personality psychologically, but how Alphacip talked about it sounded far more violent than that. "There will be blood on my hands tonight. Once there is, I will stop at nothing to make this mod better. She will feel nothing but pain for the rest of my life." Meanwhile, members of the dev team began pulling away from Ancients Awakened and began asking to have their work removed from the mod, which Alphacip refused to do. And after Alphacip refused to take down his music from the mod, Universe, another Ancients Awakened composer, gave every member admin privileges in their Discord server. Admin privileges basically allowed a member to have control over the server, like create and remove channels, ban other members, and more. With everyone being able to do all these, the server went into chaos. The name was changed, multiple channels were made, bots flooded the server, and members were spammed with multiple messages. And within minutes, people abandoned the official Ancients Awakened server. In less than a week, Ancients Awakened was destroyed, both the Discord server and the entire development team itself. Alphacip eventually left the Terraria community, transferring his mod's ownership to his remaining chief directors, Tails the Fox 92 and the Dr. Darlene. By 2026, Tails and Darlene recreated Ancients Awakened mod from scratch without using any of the elements from Alphacip's version. This meant that Alphacip's creation was completely erased from the Terraria community because of what he did to both his team and members like Sumi. And he's far from the only creator who had his work erased from the mod he worked on, as you'll see in the next case. But this time, it wasn't because of what he did. Instead, he had to leave the Terraria community after his life was threatened.
You've probably enjoyed a lot of his songs without even realizing it, but there was one project he worked on that eventually caused his fans to go too far: the Terraria Calamity mod.
Born on October 4th, 1990, DM Dokuro was a self-taught music producer from Massachusetts. He launched his YouTube channel on April 23rd, 2007 at the age of 16, where he started with posting remixes for game music. He was known for high-energy symphonic music that fit intense boss battles in video games, and because of his talent, he was brought in as the music composer for the Calamity mod team at the age of 26 in early 2017, 10 years after he had launched his channel. Since joining the team, Dokuro released several songs that were hits with fans. The songs gained millions of views on YouTube, while his Spotify page had over 300,000 monthly listeners. And though his songs were loved by Calamity mod users, how they treated Dokuro would become one of the most controversial things the Terraria fandom has ever done. On February 2nd, 2017, the Calamity mod introduced a new boss named Supreme Calamitas. Now, whenever new bosses were added in the mod, the development team included a theme song that fit both the character and the battle that players faced with them. And at first, Supreme Calamitas' theme was a remix of a previous song, since Dokuro wasn't done with composing the song that best fit her in time for the update's release. This was because he wanted to finish other pending theme songs so he could add elements of the other songs into Calamitas' theme. The wait stretched out for months, and soon, fans began harassing Dokuro to hurry up with the song. Then, in Calamity Mod's December 10th, 2017 update, which came 10 months after their previous Supreme Calamitas update, they added a parody boss character called the Lord. The character was a joke version of another Calamity boss named Lord Yarim, who shared his design, except Lord had large googly eyes that took up most of its face. Fans loved the joke boss character so much that it became an instant meme within the community. Servers and comment sections were filled with the Lord's face, and soon even Dokuro's YouTube channel was spammed with the character's image along the constant demand for Supreme Calamitas' official song. The Lord spamming soon became too much, to the point that the development team decided to remove the character just 5 months later in their May 4th, 2018 update. Meanwhile, the harassment against Dokuro continued. By 2018, it was so severe that the Calamity team hired another composer, Enway, to create a placeholder music for Supreme Calamitas, which they released in June 2018. Enway even titled the song Now Stop Asking Where to serve as a message to the fans that repeatedly demanded for Dokuro's song. But fans didn't take this message lightly. Instead, things intensified as Dokuro began receiving death threats, with fans blaming his slow work for ruining the Calamity mod. Messages like these significantly affected his mental health. Despite the pressure, he still managed to release the song titled Stained Brutal Calamity, which is now Super Calamitas' official theme, in October 2018, a whole 20 months after the character was added in the mod. The song was a 12-minute orchestral masterpiece that fans loved, and yet, it wasn't enough. Fans continued spamming Dokuro with demands to release the next theme song for the Calamity mod, and with every new mod content that required a new theme, the messages kept coming. Finally, it became too much. So Dokuro posted in April 2020. After much discussion with the developers and valuable feedback from concerned fans, I've made the decision to move on from the Calamity mod. The project took a serious toll on my mental health as of late, to the point where I found no enjoyment in working at all. This came as devastating news to many fans, with some of them calling out those who began the harassment campaign against Dokuro. While Dokuro continued working on music projects outside the Calamity mod, many of his fans still wished that he'd return. However, over the years, he insisted that it wasn't happening, saying that his experience with the Calamity community made him hate all the soundtracks he created for them. And when one fan pointedly asked him if he'd still consider returning years later, he answered with finality, saying, "Is 2 years not enough of a hint for you?"